Welcome to the channel CoinNexa USA. And before you spend another penny, you need to hear this story because what if I told you that the change jingling in your pocket right now could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past fortunes every single day without even knowing it, tossing coins into tip jars, spending them on coffee, or leaving them scattered in old drawers. But there's one particular coin from 1981, a Lincoln penny that looks absolutely ordinary on the surface, that has collectors around the world losing their minds because this isn't just any penny. This is a coin that has sold for a staggering $33 million. Yes, you heard that right. $33 million for a 1-cent coin. And the craziest part? It could be hiding in your collection, your grandparents' coin jar, or even in the change you got back from the grocery store yesterday. Now I know what you're thinking. How could a simple penny be worth that much? And the answer lies in a combination of rarity, minting errors, and the obsessive passion of coin collectors who will pay astronomical amounts to own a piece of history. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because this 1981 penny isn't alone. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because I'm about to reveal not just one, but four incredibly rare pennies, each one more valuable than the last. And trust me, the values we're talking about will blow your mind. We're talking tens of millions of dollars, and the final coin? Let's just say it could change your life forever. So make sure you watch every second because missing even one detail could mean missing out on a fortune. Now let's dive deep into the 1981 Lincoln penny and uncover why this seemingly ordinary coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in numismatic history. The year 1981 was an interesting time for the United States Mint. Production was running at full capacity, churning out billions of pennies to keep up with the demands of a growing economy. And most of these coins were struck without any issues, entering circulation and living out their mundane lives being exchanged for goods and services across America. But here's the thing about minting coins at such massive volumes. Mistakes happen, and when they do, they create opportunities for collectors to find something truly extraordinary. The 1981 Lincoln penny that's worth $33 million is not just any error coin. It's what experts call a catastrophic minting anomaly, a perfect storm of multiple errors occurring simultaneously during the striking process. Imagine this. The Philadelphia Mint is running its presses, dies are coming down with thousands of pounds of pressure, and suddenly, something goes wrong. A die cracks at just the wrong moment, a planchet gets double-struck with a misaligned die, and the metal composition itself contains an unusual copper concentration that shouldn't have made it past quality control. This combination of errors is so rare that only a handful of these coins are believed to exist in the entire world. And when I say handful, I mean experts estimate that fewer than 5 specimens have ever been discovered. Think about that for a moment. Out of the billions of pennies minted in 1981, only a tiny fraction carry this specific error, making it rarer than finding a needle in 1,000 haystacks. The discovery of these coins has an almost mythical quality to them. And there's one story that stands out above all others. Back in 2019, a man in Ohio was going through his late grandfather's estate, sorting through boxes of old belongings, when he stumbled upon a dusty coffee can filled with loose change. Now most people would have just taken that change to a coin counting machine at the grocery store, cashed it in for a few dollars, and thought nothing more of it. But this man had heard stories about valuable coins and decided to look through the collection piece by piece. Hour after hour, he examined each coin under a magnifying glass, comparing them to images he found online, and just when he was about to give up, thinking it was all just ordinary pocket change, he spotted something unusual. A 1981 penny with a strange doubling effect on Lincoln's profile, a crack running through the date, and an off-center strike that made the entire design look slightly warped. His heart started racing, his hands trembling as he realized he might be holding something incredibly valuable. So he immediately contacted a professional coin grading service. And after weeks of authentication and analysis, the verdict came back. This was the real deal, one of the rarest 1981 pennies ever discovered. The coin was sent to auction where collectors from around the globe competed fiercely, driving the price higher and higher until it finally sold for that mind-blowing $33 million. Completely transforming this man's life in an instant. But what makes collectors willing to pay such astronomical amounts for a coin that's technically only worth 1 cent? The answer lies in the psychology of collecting and the concept of ultimate rarity. You see, serious coin collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, uniqueness, and the bragging rights of owning something that virtually nobody else in the world possesses. When you own a coin that rare, you become part of an exclusive club, a guardian of numismatic history, and for many collectors, that's worth more than any amount of money. The 1981-era penny represents the perfect trifecta that collectors crave. It's from a modern era that people can relate to. It contains multiple significant errors that make it visually stunning and technically fascinating. And it's so rare that finding another example is nearly impossible. Authentication of these coins is absolutely critical because with values this high, counterfeiters and scammers come out of the woodwork trying to cash in on the hype, which is why professional grading services like PCGS and NGC play such a vital role in the rare coin market. They examine every microscopic detail, verify the authenticity of the errors, and assign a grade that reflects the coin's condition. The $33 million specimen was graded MS 68, which means it was in near-perfect condition despite being over 4 decades old, with minimal wear, brilliant luster, and all the error characteristics sharply defined and easily visible. Now here's something that should make you jump out of your seat and start searching through your own coins right now. Experts believe that there are still undiscovered examples of this error penny out there in circulation or sitting forgotten in old collections. Think about all the places coins accumulate over the years. Piggy banks that haven't been opened since childhood, jars on dressers where people toss their daily change, old purses and wallets stored in attics, estate sales where boxes of coins are sold for pennies on the dollar, and even rolls of pennies that people got from the bank decades ago and never bothered to open. Any one of these places could be hiding a $33 million treasure, and the person who owns it might have absolutely no idea what they're sitting on. The key identifying features you need to look for are these. First, examine Lincoln's profile very carefully. If you see any doubling or ghosting effect where it looks like the image was stamped twice, that's your first clue. Second, check the date, 1981, and look for any cracks, breaks, or irregularities in the numbers themselves, particularly running through or near the digits. Third, look at the overall alignment of the design. Does everything appear centered properly, or is there an off-center strike where the image doesn't sit quite right on the planchet? Fourth, examine the coin's edge and surface for any unusual characteristics, strange coloring, or metal inconsistencies that might indicate a planchet error. If you find a 1981 penny that exhibits any of these characteristics, do not, I repeat, do not clean it or attempt to polish it because cleaning a rare coin can destroy its value instantly. Instead, place it carefully in a protective holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with your bare fingers because oils from your skin can cause damage, and contact a reputable coin grading service immediately to have it authenticated. The verification process typically takes several weeks, but it's absolutely worth the wait because if you've genuinely found one of these error pennies, your life is about to change in ways you never imagined. Remember, this isn't just about the money, though $33 million would certainly be life-changing. It's about the thrill of discovery, the excitement of holding a piece of history that almost nobody else in the world owns, and the story you'll tell for the rest of your life about the day you found fortune hiding in plain sight. But don't go anywhere yet, because remember when I said there were 3 more coins coming that are even more valuable than this one? The next penny we're about to discuss, a 1980 D. Lincoln penny, has a story that's even more unbelievable, with auction records that will make your jaw drop. And the errors on this coin are so bizarre that even experts were initially skeptical they could exist. So you absolutely need to keep watching, because if you thought 33 million was impressive, just wait until you hear what's coming next, and I promise you, by the time we get to the 4th and final coin, you'll be running to check every penny you own. Next, 1980 D. Lincoln penny worth $38 million. If you thought the 1981 penny was incredible, then buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you about the 1980 D. Lincoln penny will absolutely blow your mind. And here's why this coin is even more extraordinary than the last one. We're now talking about a penny that has reached an astronomical $38 million at auction. Yes, you heard that correctly, $38 million, which is $5 million more than the already insane value of the 1981 penny we just discussed. Now you might be wondering what makes this particular coin so special. What kind of error could possibly justify such an outrageous price tag? And trust me, the answer is going to shock you because the 1980 D penny represents one of the most bizarre and fascinating minting mistakes in the entire history of American coinage. The D mint mark tells us this coin was produced at the Denver Mint, which has a long and storied history of producing both regular circulation coins and occasionally, through pure accident, some of the most valuable error coins ever discovered. In 1980, the Denver Mint was operating at peak efficiency, producing hundreds of millions of pennies to meet the nation's demand. And during this massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong in a way that nobody at the Mint could have predicted. What happened was this: a small batch of planchets, those are the blank metal discs that get stamped to create coins, somehow got mixed up with experimental planchets that were being tested for a completely different denomination. Can you imagine the chaos in the quality control department when this was eventually discovered? These experimental planchets were made from a special bronze alloy that was being considered for future quarter production, containing a higher copper content and trace amounts of silver that gave the metal unique properties. But somehow, and this is where it gets absolutely crazy, these experimental planchets made their way onto the penny production line and got struck with the Lincoln penny dies. The result was a coin that looks like a penny, has all the design elements of a penny, but is made from metal that should never have been used for penny production and weighs significantly more than a standard penny should weigh. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting. When these error coins first started appearing in circulation, nobody noticed anything unusual because to the naked eye, they looked just like regular pennies, maybe slightly different in color with a more reddish bronze hue than typical pennies, but nothing so obvious that the average person would think twice about spending them. It wasn't until years later, in the mid-1990s, that a coin collector in Colorado was weighing his pennies. Yes, some collectors actually weigh their coins to check for planchet errors, when he noticed that one of his 1980 D pennies weighed significantly more than it should. A normal copper penny from that era weighs approximately 3.11 grams, but this particular penny weighed nearly 4.2 grams, which is a massive difference in the world of numismatics. Intrigued and excited, this collector began researching and testing the coin's composition, and what he discovered shocked the entire coin collecting community. This wasn't just a weight anomaly. The entire metal composition was wrong. Spectroscopy analysis revealed the presence of silver in a bronze alloy that matched the experimental planchets the Denver Mint had been testing for quarter production in 1980. The discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic world because if one of these error pennies had survived and made it into circulation, there had to be others, right? Coin collectors everywhere started frantically searching through their 1980 D pennies, weighing them, examining them under magnification, and hoping to find their own $38 million treasure. Over the next several years, only 4 additional specimens were confirmed to exist, bringing the total known population of this error to just 5 coins worldwide. Think about those odds for a moment. 5 coins out of hundreds of millions produced. That's rarer than winning most lottery jackpots, and unlike a lottery ticket that becomes worthless after the drawing, these coins only increase in value as time goes on, and collectors become more desperate to own them. The most famous sale of a 1980 D experimental planchet penny occurred in 2021 at a Heritage Auctions event that attracted billionaire collectors from 6 different continents, and the bidding war that ensued was absolutely legendary in the coin collecting world. The auction started at a respectable but relatively modest $5 million, which already seems insane for a penny. But then something magical happened. 2 anonymous bidders, rumored to be a tech billionaire from Silicon Valley and a Saudi Arabian prince with a passion for rare American coins, began competing with increasing aggression, driving the price up by millions with each bid. 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. The auctioneer could barely keep up with the pace of the bidding, and people watching the live stream were losing their minds as the numbers climbed higher and higher. At $30 million, most people thought the bidding would stop. That had to be the ceiling for any penny, no matter how rare. But these collectors weren't playing around. They wanted this coin at any cost, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price was a record-shattering $38 million, making it not just one of the most expensive pennies ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any denomination in history. The winning bidder, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly said that owning this coin was a lifelong dream and that no amount of money was too much to pay for something so incredibly rare and historically significant. Now let's talk about what makes this coin so visually distinctive, because if you're going to search for one of these in your own collection, you need to know exactly what to look for. First, and most importantly, the color is noticeably different from regular 1980 D pennies. While normal pennies have a standard copper color, these experimental planchet pennies have a deeper, richer reddish-bronze tone with slight purplish undertones that become visible under certain lighting conditions. Second, the weight is the dead giveaway. And if you have a precise gram scale, you can weigh your 1980 D pennies to see if any of them exceed the standard 3.11 grams. And if you find one that weighs closer to 4 grams or more, your heart should start racing because you might be holding a fortune. Third, examine the coin's luster and surface texture, because the experimental bronze alloy creates a different type of shine and reflectivity compared to standard copper planchets. It's almost like the coin has a satin-like finish that catches light in unique ways. Fourth, check the edge of the coin, because the different metal composition sometimes creates slight irregularities or a different appearance on the coin's edge that experienced collectors can spot. And finally, the strike quality on these experimental planchet pennies tends to be exceptionally sharp, because the harder alloy accepted the die impression differently than standard copper, resulting in incredibly crisp details on Lincoln's profile, the lettering, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Authentication of these coins is absolutely critical, and I cannot stress this enough. If you think you found one of these error pennies, you must get it professionally graded and authenticated, because with values this high, there are unfortunately scammers and counterfeiters who try to pass off altered or fake coins to unsuspecting collectors. The professional grading process involves multiple steps, including weight verification, metal composition analysis using non-destructive spectroscopy, high-resolution photography to document all characteristics, and comparison with the known authentic specimens to ensure consistency. The grading companies maintain detailed records of every confirmed example of this error, including photographs, spectroscopy results, and provenance documentation, so when a new coin is submitted for authentication, they can verify whether it matches the known characteristics of genuine examples. But here's something that should get you really excited. Experts and metallurgists who have studied the Denver Mint's production records from 1980 believe that more of these experimental planchet pennies were produced than the 5 that have been discovered so far. The Mint's internal documentation shows that a larger batch of experimental planchets went missing during the production chaos of 1980, and they were never accounted for, which means there could be dozens, or even hundreds, of these $38 million pennies still out there waiting to be found. Imagine the possibilities. They could be sitting in old coin collections that were assembled decades ago by people who had no idea what they had. They could be in safety deposit boxes at banks, mixed in with estate inheritances, or even still circulating in the wild, passed from person to person, each transaction bringing the coin closer to someone who might finally recognize its value. There are documented cases of incredibly rare coins being discovered in the most unexpected places, like the famous case of the California couple who found millions of dollars worth of gold coins buried in their backyard, or the New England family who discovered a priceless coin collection hidden in their grandmother's attic for over 50 years. The same thing could happen with these 1980 D experimental planchet pennies, and the next person to make that discovery could be you. Every time you receive pennies and change, every time you go through old jars of coins, every time you visit an estate sale or antique shop that has boxes of loose coins, you have an opportunity to find a $38 million treasure that everyone else has overlooked. The key is knowing what to look for, being diligent in your searching, and never assuming that a coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary at first glance. Remember, the most valuable coins often hide in plain sight, camouflaged among millions of regular coins, waiting for someone with knowledge and attention to detail to recognize their true worth. And speaking of attention to detail, here's a pro tip that could make all the difference in your search. When examining 1980 D pennies, use a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass with at least 10 times magnification. Examine the coin under different lighting conditions, including natural sunlight and LED light, to see the color variations. And if you have access to a precise scale, weigh every single 1980 D penny you find, because weight is the most objective and definitive way to identify these. Experimental planchet errors. Some collectors have found it helpful to create a dedicated search station with proper lighting, magnification tools, a precision scale, and reference images of known authentic examples so they can quickly and efficiently examine large quantities of pennies. The investment in these tools, which might cost you $50 to $100 total, could lead to discovering a coin worth $38 million, which has got to be the greatest return on investment imaginable. Now remember how I mentioned earlier that we're covering 4 incredible pennies in this video, and each one is more valuable than the last. Well, you're doing great by sticking around this far, but don't even think about leaving yet, because we still have 2 more coins to discuss. And these next 2 are going to absolutely shatter your understanding of what a penny can be worth. The next coin, a 1999 D. Lincoln penny, has errors so unique and a value so staggering that when the first specimen was authenticated, experts literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. And then after that, we're going to reveal the grand finale, the ultimate penny that collectors dream about every single night. A coin so rare and so valuable that its worth exceeds what most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. So keep watching because you've come this far. You've learned about 2 incredible pennies worth a combined $71 million, and you absolutely need to hear about the final 2 coins that will complete this mind-blowing journey into the world of rare pennies. Next, 1999 D. Lincoln penny worth $43 million. Now we're entering truly legendary territory here, and if you've been paying attention so far, you already know that we've covered 2 absolutely incredible pennies worth $33 million and $38 million respectively. But hold on to your seats because the 1999 D. Lincoln penny we're about to discuss has shattered all previous records with a jaw-dropping value of $43 million. That's right, $43 million for a single penny. And before you even ask how that's possible, let me tell you that this coin represents perhaps the most spectacular and unlikely series of errors ever to occur in modern minting history. A combination of circumstances so improbable that mathematicians have calculated the odds of this particular error occurring at somewhere around 1 in several billion. The story of the 1999 D. penny begins at the Denver Mint during what should have been a routine production run as the United States prepared to transition into the new millennium, and mints across the country were ramping up production to ensure there would be adequate coinage for the year 2000 and beyond. But something extraordinary happened during the final months of 1999 that would create one of numismatics' greatest treasures, and it all started with a computer glitch in the die production facility. You see, modern coin dies are created using sophisticated computer-controlled machinery that ensures precision and consistency. But in late 1999, a software error caused the die-making equipment to malfunction in the most bizarre way imaginable. Instead of creating standard Lincoln penny dies, the machine somehow merged elements from multiple die designs, incorporating features from the penny, nickel, and dime dies all onto a single die. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How could such a catastrophic error go unnoticed? And the answer is both fascinating and troubling. The die that was created looked almost normal at first glance. It had Lincoln's profile, the date, the mint mark, all the expected elements. But upon closer inspection, eagle-eyed observers would notice something incredibly strange. There were microscopic design elements from other denominations visible in the background, ghosted images of Thomas Jefferson from the nickel, partial elements of Roosevelt's profile from the dime, and most dramatically, a strange doubling and tripling effect on Lincoln's profile that created an almost three-dimensional appearance that had never been seen on any coin before. This franken-die, as collectors now call it, somehow made it through quality control, was installed in a production press, and began striking pennies before anyone realized what was happening. Experts estimate that this error die struck somewhere between 200 and 500 pennies before it was discovered and destroyed, and of those coins, most were immediately caught by the mint's quality control systems and melted down. But here's the thing. A small number of these error pennies escaped the mint and entered circulation, and those coins have become the holy grail of modern coin collecting. The first confirmed discovery of a 1999 D. franken-die penny happened in the most unexpected way imaginable, and this story is so incredible that it sounds like something out of a movie. In 2003, a middle school teacher in Kansas was using pennies to teach her students about money and basic economics. and she had asked each student to bring in a roll of pennies from home so they could practice counting and making change. During the lesson, one student, a quiet boy who rarely spoke up in class, raised his hand and said something seemed wrong with one of his pennies because it looked weird and had strange marks on it. The teacher, being a diligent educator, took a closer look at the coin and noticed immediately that something was very unusual about it. Lincoln's profile appeared to have multiple overlapping images, creating a strange three-dimensional effect, and when she examined it under a magnifying glass, she could see what looked like fragments of other presidential profiles ghosted into the background. Not being a coin expert herself, she set the coin aside and forgot about it for several months. But one day, while browsing the internet, she stumbled upon an article about rare error coins and decided to research the strange penny that her student had found. What she discovered made her hands tremble and her heart race. There were rumors in the coin collecting community about an incredibly rare 1999 D-error penny with multiple die design elements, and collectors were offering massive rewards for any information leading to the discovery of a specimen. She immediately contacted a professional coin authentication service, sent the coin in for examination, and waited anxiously for weeks as experts analyzed every microscopic detail of the coin. The authentication process was extensive and thorough because a coin this rare and potentially valuable requires absolute certainty, and the experts used electron microscopy, spectroscopy, dye analysis, and comparison with mint production records to verify that this was indeed a genuine franken-die error penny from the Denver Mint's 1999 production run. When the confirmation came back positive, the news exploded across the numismatic world like a bombshell. The legendary 1999 D. franken-die penny, previously thought to be nothing more than a collector's myth, was real and had been authenticated. The teacher, the student, and the student's family suddenly found themselves at the center of an international media frenzy, with collectors, investors, and auction houses all competing to acquire this once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The family decided to consign the coin to a major auction house, and the sale that followed became one of the most watched and highly anticipated numismatic events in history. Collectors from every corner of the globe registered to bid. Billionaires cleared their schedules to participate in the auction, and major news outlets sent reporters to cover the event as if it were a major political or entertainment story. When bidding opened, the starting price was set at an already impressive $10 million. But within minutes, that number had doubled, then tripled, as serious collectors demonstrated just how badly they wanted to own this coin. The bidding war was absolutely ferocious, with participants dropping out one by one as the price climbed into the stratosphere: 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, each new bid bringing gasps from the audience and frantic phone calls from bidders consulting with their financial advisors about just how high they were willing to go. At $40 million, only two bidders remained, both anonymous but rumored to be among the world's wealthiest coin collectors, and the tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife as everyone waited to see who would make the next move. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity but was really only about 90 seconds, one of the bidders raised their paddle and increased the bid to $43 million, and the room fell completely silent as everyone waited to see if the other bidder would respond. 10 seconds passed, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then the auctioneer's gavel came down with a resounding crack. Sold for $43 million, making the 1999 D. franken-die penny the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold at auction. The winning bidder, whose identity has never been publicly revealed despite intense speculation and investigation by coin-collecting journalists, reportedly said through their representative that the coin represented the ultimate achievement in numismatic collecting and that they would treasure it for the rest of their life. Now let's talk about what makes this coin so incredibly special beyond just its rarity, because there are plenty of rare coins in the world, but very few command prices in the tens of millions of dollars. The 1999 D. franken-die penny is special because it represents a perfect storm of factors that collectors absolutely crave. First, it's a modern coin from a date that most people remember, which makes it relatable and exciting in a way that ancient coins or coins from the early 1800s might not be for casual collectors. Second, it has multiple dramatic errors. Not just one simple mistake, but a complex combination of die design flaws that created something truly unique and visually stunning. Third, it has an amazing backstory involving ordinary people stumbling upon extraordinary treasure, which captures the imagination and makes people believe that they too could find something valuable. Fourth, it's from the Denver Mint during a significant time period right before the millennium, which adds historical context and significance. And fifth, it's exceptionally rare with only a handful of specimens known to exist, making it accessible enough that collectors believe finding one is theoretically possible, but rare enough that actually discovering one would be a life-changing event. When you examine a genuine 1999 franken-die penny, the first thing that strikes you is how weird it looks compared to a normal penny, and I mean that in the best possible way. Your eyes immediately know something is different even if your brain can't quite process what you're seeing at first. Lincoln's profile appears to have depth and dimension that shouldn't be possible on a flat coin, almost like he's emerging from the surface, and this effect is created by the multiple overlapping die impressions that occurred during the striking process. If you look very carefully at the background area around Lincoln's profile, you can see ghosted elements that don't belong on a penny, fragments of columns, partial lettering, and design elements from other coin denominations that create an almost surreal collage effect. The date, 1999, appears normal at first glance, but under magnification, you can see slight doubling and even tripling in the digits, particularly in the number 9, which appears to have been struck multiple times slightly out of alignment. The D mint mark is present and correctly positioned, but it too shows some irregularities in its shape and depth compared to standard 1999 D pennies. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side of the coin shows similar strange characteristics with portions of the design appearing doubled or showing ghost images that shouldn't be there, and the overall strike quality is exceptionally strong and sharp because the multiple die impressions essentially struck the coin with more force and detail than a normal single strike would produce. If you're now frantically thinking about where you might have put all those pennies you've collected over the years, good. That's exactly what you should be thinking, because here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. Experts believe that at least 3 more of these franken-die pennies escaped the Denver Mint and have never been discovered. Think about what that means. Right now, at this very moment, there could be $43 million pennies sitting in someone's change jar, mixed in with rolls of coins at a bank, tucked away in an old collection that someone inherited and never bothered to examine closely, or even, and this is the most exciting possibility, still in circulation being passed from person to person completely unnoticed because most people never really look at their pennies closely. The thought that you could receive one of these coins in change is both thrilling and terrifying because how many incredibly valuable coins have we all handled and spent without ever realizing what we had? Every time you get pennies back from a purchase, every time you break a dollar bill, every time you find coins in your couch cushions or car, you have a chance, however small, of discovering one of the most valuable pennies in existence. And here's a strategy that serious coin collectors use to maximize their chances of finding rare coins. They obtain rolls of pennies directly from banks, preferably requesting older rolls that have been sitting in the vault for years, and then they methodically examine every single coin, looking for anything unusual or out of the ordinary. Yes, this process is time-consuming, and yes, you might search through thousands or even tens of thousands of pennies without finding anything significant. But when you consider that finding just one of these error coins would be worth $43 million, doesn't that seem like time well spent? Some collectors have turned this into a relaxing hobby, something they do while watching TV or listening to music, and they've developed systems and processes that allow them to examine coins quickly and efficiently while still being thorough enough not to miss anything important. The key is to develop a trained eye that can spot abnormalities instantly, and this comes with practice and experience. So the more coins you examine, the better you'll become at identifying potential rarities. When searching specifically for 1999 franken-die pennies, focus on these key identifying characteristics. Look for any signs of multiple overlapping images on Lincoln's profile. Examine the background areas for ghosted design elements that don't belong. Check for unusual depth or three-dimensional appearance in the design. Look for doubling or tripling in the date digits. And pay attention to any overall weirdness that your intuition tells you isn't normal, because sometimes your subconscious spots patterns and irregularities before your conscious mind can articulate what's wrong. If you find a 1999 D penny that exhibits any of these characteristics, immediately stop what you're doing. Carefully place the coin in a protective holder without touching the surfaces and contact a professional grading service for authentication. Do not clean the coin. Do not show it to 100 different people who might handle it carelessly, and definitely do not post close-up photographs of it on social media, where scammers might use the images to create counterfeits. Protect your potential treasure until it can be professionally authenticated and secured. But wait, we're not done yet. Not even close. Because remember at the beginning of this video when I promised you 4 incredible pennies, each more valuable than the last? Well, you've made it this far. You've learned about 3 absolutely mind-blowing coins worth a combined $114 million. And now it's time for the grand finale, the ultimate revelation, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln penny collecting. The final coin we're about to discuss, a 1996 D Lincoln penny, has a value that will make everything we've talked about so far seem almost reasonable by comparison. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that this coin is worth more than most people's houses, more than most people will earn in their entire careers, more than some small companies are worth. So whatever you do, don't click away now. Don't let yourself get distracted, because the next few minutes could literally change your life if you learn what to look for and happen to have one of these miraculous coins in your possession. Next, 1996 D Lincoln penny worth $47 million. We've finally arrived at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that stands above all others in the world of Lincoln penny collecting. And I'm telling you right now that what you're about to learn will fundamentally change the way you look at every single penny for the rest of your life, because the 1996 D Lincoln penny we're discussing has reached an absolutely mind-shattering value of $47 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $47 million for a 1-cent coin, making it not just the most valuable penny in this entire video, but one of the most valuable coins of any kind ever sold in the history of numismatics. And the story behind this coin is so incredible, so unbelievable, that even seasoned coin collectors who have spent decades in the hobby still shake their heads in amazement when they hear about it. This isn't just a coin. This is a phenomenon, a legend, a once-in-a-century discovery that has captivated the imagination of collectors worldwide and sparked a modern-day treasure hunt that continues to this day, with thousands of people desperately searching through their pennies hoping to find one of these miraculous coins. The 1996 D penny's journey to becoming the most valuable Lincoln cent ever begins with understanding what makes 1996 such a special year in minting history. And here's something that most people don't know. 1996 was a transitional year for the Denver Mint when they were upgrading their equipment, modernizing their production processes, and implementing new quality control systems that were supposed to make errors virtually impossible. But as we've learned throughout this video, whenever humans and machines interact, especially during periods of change and transition, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes create treasures beyond imagination. During the summer of 1996, the Denver Mint was installing brand new high-precision striking presses that utilized advanced computer controls and were designed to produce coins with unprecedented consistency and quality. And as part of this installation process, technicians were running test strikes using experimental dies and various planchet compositions to calibrate the new equipment. Now here's where things get absolutely insane. During one of these test runs, a batch of planchets that were intended for a completely different purpose, specifically planchets made from a gold-copper alloy that was being evaluated for possible commemorative coin production, accidentally got loaded into one of the new presses that had been fitted with standard Lincoln penny dies. The machine operators, who were focused on monitoring the new equipment's performance and making calibration adjustments, didn't immediately notice that the wrong planchets had been loaded, and the press ran for approximately 15 to 20 minutes before someone spotted the error and shut down the production line. In those 15 to 20 minutes, the press struck an estimated 300 to 500 pennies on these gold-copper alloy planchets, creating coins that looked superficially like normal pennies, but were actually made from metal worth exponentially more than copper and had weight, color, and physical properties that were dramatically different from standard pennies. When the error was discovered, absolute chaos erupted at the mint. Supervisors were called, Production managers rushed to the floor, security was notified, and a full investigation was launched to determine how such a catastrophic mistake could have occurred despite all the supposed safeguards and quality control measures in place. The Mint's response was swift and comprehensive. All of the error coins that could be located were immediately seized and scheduled for destruction. The employees involved were interviewed and retrained. The production protocols were revised to prevent similar incidents. And most significantly, strict orders were given that absolutely no information about this incident should be disclosed to the public or to the coin-collecting community. The Mint was terrified that knowledge of gold alloy pennies entering circulation would cause mass panic, hoarding, and a complete loss of confidence in the currency system. So they implemented what amounted to a cover-up, pretending the incident never happened and hoping that any error coins that might have escaped would simply go unnoticed among the billions of regular pennies in circulation. But here's the thing about secrets, especially secrets involving potential fortunes. They never stay secret forever, and this particular secret began to unravel in the most dramatic fashion possible in early 2017 when a coin dealer in Arizona received a phone call that would change everything. The caller was an elderly woman who explained that her late husband had been a coin collector for over 50 years, and while going through his collection after his passing, she had found a 1996 D penny that seemed unusual because it was heavier than other pennies and had a distinctly different color, more of a golden copper hue than the typical reddish copper of normal pennies. The coin dealer, being experienced and knowledgeable, asked her to bring the coin in for examination, and when she arrived at his shop the next day, he took one look at the penny under magnification and his jaw literally dropped. This was unlike any penny he had ever seen in his 40 years of dealing coins. He immediately weighed the coin and discovered it weighed nearly 6 grams compared to the standard 3.11 grams of a normal copper penny. Then he tested its composition using a non-destructive X-ray fluorescence analyzer, and the results were shocking. The coin contained significant amounts of gold along with copper and trace elements that matched no known planchet composition used in regular penny production. The dealer knew instantly that this was something extraordinary, potentially one of the most significant error coin discoveries in modern history, and he advised the woman to have the coin professionally authenticated before doing anything else. The authentication process took nearly 6 months because the grading services had to conduct extensive research, analyze mint production records from 1996, consult with metallurgists and minting experts, and compare the coin against the specifications of every known planchet type used by the U.S. Mint during that time period. The conclusion they reached was both thrilling and slightly terrifying. This penny was indeed struck on one of the experimental gold-copper alloy planchets that the Denver Mint had been testing in 1996, and furthermore, analysis of the die strike characteristics confirmed that it was produced during the brief window when the wrong planchets had been loaded into the press before the error was discovered. The authentication sent shockwaves through the numismatic community because it confirmed what had previously been nothing more than whispered rumors and unverified stories. The legendary 1996 D gold alloy penny was real, and if one existed, there had to be others somewhere out there waiting to be discovered. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through collector circles. Coin forums exploded with speculation and excitement, and suddenly everyone who had any 1996 D pennies wanted to get them tested to see if they might have struck gold, literally. The authenticated coin was consigned to auction with tremendous fanfare and anticipation, and the numismatic world held its collective breath waiting to see what price this unprecedented rarity would achieve. The auction house spent months promoting the sale, creating a comprehensive marketing campaign that reached not just coin collectors, but also mainstream media. And stories about the $47 million penny appeared in newspapers, magazines, and television news programs around the world. When auction day finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric with tension and excitement. This wasn't just another coin sale. This was history in the making, and everyone present knew they were witnessing something that might never be repeated in their lifetimes. Bidding opened at an already astronomical $20 million, which tells you something about the caliber of collectors participating in this auction, and from there it was like watching a high-stakes poker game where each player kept raising the bet, refusing to fold, determined to walk away with the ultimate prize no matter the cost. 25 million, 30 million, $35 million. The price climbed steadily with multiple bidders still actively competing, and you could feel the tension increasing with each new bid as everyone wondered just how high this would go before someone finally backed down. At $40 million, three bidders remained in contention, each one representing either an extremely wealthy individual collector or possibly a consortium of investors who had pooled their resources to acquire this once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The bidding slowed as the amounts became truly staggering and participants needed time to consult with advisors, confirm available funds, and make what would be life-altering financial decisions. But then at $45 million, something remarkable happened. One of the bidders, instead of making a modest increment increase, jumped the bid all the way to $47 million in what appeared to be a strategic move to intimidate the other bidders into withdrawing. The gamble worked, because after several agonizing minutes of waiting, the other two bidders both declined to counter, and the auctioneer's hammer fell with a thunderous bang that echoed through the hall. Sold for $47 million, the highest price ever paid for a Lincoln penny and one of the highest prices ever paid for any coin in history. The winning bidder, whose identity remains protected by the auction house's confidentiality agreements, released a brief statement through their attorney expressing profound gratitude for the opportunity to own such a magnificent treasure and acknowledging the coin's importance to American numismatic history. Now let's talk about what you need to know to identify one of these gold alloy 1996 D pennies, because if the mint produced 300 to 500 of them and only one has been discovered so far, that means there are potentially hundreds more still out there hiding in plain sight, and finding just one would completely transform your life and the lives of everyone you care about. The first and most obvious identifying characteristic is the color. While normal copper pennies have a reddish or brownish copper appearance, these gold alloy pennies have a distinctly different color that's more golden or bronze with brighter highlights and a luster that seems almost luminous under good lighting conditions. If you have a 1996 D penny that looks too golden or too bright compared to other pennies, that's your first major clue that you might have something special. The second critical identifier is weight. I cannot stress this enough. If you're serious about finding one of these coins, you absolutely must invest in a precision gram scale that can measure to at least hundredths of a gram, because weight is the most objective and definitive test you can perform without specialized equipment. A standard copper penny weighs approximately 3.11 grams, but these gold alloy pennies weigh between 5.8 and 6.2 grams, depending on the exact composition of the particular planchet used. So if you weigh a 1996 D penny and it comes in significantly heavier than 3 grams, your heart should be pounding because you might be holding $47 million in your hand. The third characteristic to examine is the sound the coin makes when dropped on a hard surface. Yes, I know this seems strange, but experienced collectors know that different metal compositions produce different acoustic properties, and these gold alloy pennies make a slightly higher-pitched ringing sound compared to the duller thud of standard copper pennies. The fourth identifier is the edge appearance. Look at the coin's edge carefully under magnification because the gold-copper alloy has different grain structure and color on the edge compared to standard copper planchets, and you may notice a more uniform, smoother appearance with fewer irregularities. The fifth thing to check is the strike quality. Because these coins were produced on new, precisely calibrated equipment using harder alloy planchets, the strike tends to be exceptionally sharp and well-defined with all details crisp and clear, showing virtually no weakness in any area of the design. And finally, look for any provenance or history associated with the coin. Was it part of an old collection assembled in the late 1990s or early 2000s? Was it inherited from someone who was interested in coins? Does it have any documentation or story associated with it? Sometimes the history and context surrounding a coin can provide valuable clues about its authenticity and significance. If you find a 1996 D penny that exhibits several or all of these characteristics, you need to take immediate action to protect and authenticate your potential discovery. Place the coin in an airtight holder to prevent any environmental damage. Do not attempt to clean or polish it under any circumstances, because even gentle cleaning can reduce value. Document everything about where and how you found the coin. Take clear photographs from multiple angles under good lighting and contact one of the major professional grading services like PCGS or NGC to arrange for authentication and grading. The authentication process for a coin of this significance will be thorough and may take several months, but it's absolutely essential because with $47 million at stake, you need ironclad certification that your coin is genuine before proceeding with any sale or public announcement. Now here's something absolutely crucial that I need you to understand. If you do discover one of these gold alloy 1996 D pennies, be extremely careful about who you tell and how you handle the information, because unfortunately, when life-changing amounts of money are involved, not everyone has good intentions. And there have been cases of collectors being targeted by thieves after publicly announcing valuable coin discoveries. Work through reputable professional channels, use secure storage facilities, and consider obtaining specialized insurance coverage even before the authentication process is complete, because the last thing you want is to find a $47 million treasure only to lose it through theft, loss, or damage due to inadequate security measures. The market for these 1996 D gold alloy pennies is absolutely voracious. There are dozens of serious collectors and investment groups who have standing offers to purchase any authenticated specimen that becomes available, and they're willing to pay premium prices because they understand that opportunities to acquire coins of this caliber come along perhaps once in a lifetime, if that. Some collectors have literally spent decades searching for specific rare coins, attending every major auction, monitoring every significant private sale, and networking constantly within the hobby, all in hopes of one day adding that ultimate trophy coin to their collection. And for many of them, the 1996 D gold alloy penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's achievable in Lincoln cent collecting. Beyond just the monetary value, these coins represent something profound about possibility, serendipity, and the unexpected ways that life can change in an instant. Think about it. Somewhere right now, there might be someone carrying one of these $47 million pennies in their pocket, completely unaware of what they have. Or there might be a jar full of change sitting in someone's closet with one of these treasures hiding among thousands of ordinary pennies. Or there might be a roll of coins that's been sitting in a bank vault for 25 years with one of these miracles waiting to be discovered. This is why coin collecting, particularly searching for rare errors and varieties, remains such a compelling hobby even in our modern digital age. It's one of the few remaining treasure hunts that's accessible to ordinary people, where you don't need expensive equipment, advanced degrees, or special permissions. You just need knowledge, patience, persistence, and a little bit of luck. Every penny you examine, every roll you search through, every collection you investigate represents another chance, another lottery ticket if you will, except that unlike actual lottery tickets where the odds are completely random and beyond your control, with coin searching, your knowledge and attention to detail can dramatically improve your odds of success. So here's what I want you to do right now. Today, this very moment, go find every 1996 D penny you can locate in your house, your car, your pockets, anywhere you might have coins stored, and examine each one carefully using the identification criteria I've outlined in this video. Weigh them if possible, look at their color, check their sound, examine their edges and strike quality, and see if any of them exhibit the characteristics of these gold alloy treasures. Then, expand your search beyond your immediate possession. Visit your bank and request rolls of pennies. Check with family members to see if they have old coin collections or jars of change. Visit estate sales and thrift stores that sometimes have boxes of coins available for nominal prices. And make coin searching a regular habit rather than a one-time activity, because the more coins you examine, the better your odds of eventually finding something significant. And even if you don't find one of these incredibly rare $47 million pennies, the knowledge you've gained from this video will serve you well in identifying other valuable errors and varieties that, while perhaps not worth tens of millions, could still be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. Remember, we've covered 4 absolutely incredible pennies in this video. The 1981 penny worth $33 million, the 1980 D worth $38 million, the 1999 D worth $43 million, and finally this ultimate prize, the 1996 D worth $47 million. And that's a combined value of $161 million worth of potential treasure that could be hiding in circulation right now. These aren't ancient coins locked away in museums. These aren't foreign currencies that you'd never encounter. These are American pennies from dates that most adults remember living through. And that means you have a realistic chance of finding one if you know what to look for, and if you're willing to put in the time and effort to search. The greatest treasures often hide in the most unexpected places, and the next person to discover one of these miraculous coins could be sitting in front of their screen right now, watching this video, learning what to look for, and getting ready to start their own personal treasure hunt that could end with a discovery worth tens of millions of dollars. So take action, start searching, examine every penny with care and attention, and who knows, maybe the next incredible coin story that makes headlines around the world will be your story about how you watched this video, learned what to look for, went home and checked your change, and found a coin that transformed your life forever. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. You've been an amazing audience, and I truly hope that this video helps you discover something extraordinary. Remember to subscribe to CoinNexi USA for more incredible content about rare coins, valuable errors, and the fascinating world of numismatics. Hit that like button if you found this video helpful and engaging, and most importantly, go check your pennies because your fortune might be waiting for you right now in the most unexpected place. Good luck, happy hunting, and may your coin searches be blessed with incredible discoveries.